Ian Figueira is best known today as the co-host of HGTV's Castle Impossible, a show that centers on restoring a 500-year-old French chateau inherited by his wife, Daphne Reckert. But his story is richer than just renovation. It weaves together service, education, risk, romance, and a huge undertaking to save heritage. Ian's roots are in California. He and Daphne first met in high school. They were young sweethearts, but like many high school romances, life pulled them in different directions. Daphne went on to study, while Ian joined the U.S. Air Force. His time in the military shaped a lot of his traits. Discipline, adaptability, problem-solving under pressure, traits that would later prove critical in the chateau restoration. After Ian left the military, their paths crossed again in 2015. Daphne had completed her studies at UC Berkeley, and Ian was returning from his Air Force service. They reconnected when both were home for the holidays. This was more than just a reunion. It was a turning point. Ian was living in Arizona at the time. Daphne had been away at college. Distance tested them, but also proved their commitment. In 2017, Ian transferred to California State University, Monterey Bay, part of their plan to be together. Around the same time, Daphne moved toward her conservation and design background, and their long-term relationship grew in seriousness. When Daphne's grandfather's health and finances started becoming a burden, especially with the upkeep of the chateau, the crisis turned into an opportunity. They would take on the restoration. Daphne had to put some of her own career dreams aside in order to focus on preserving her family's legacy. Ian committed to fully helping from ground zero. When Daphne inherited the Château de Lesigny in 2020 after her grandfather's death, it came with a heavy load. The estate sits on about 130 acres of land just outside Paris, France. It includes the main chateau, a lodge, stables, a dovecote, and other outbuildings. The chateau had been used as a wedding venue and for filming, but was in serious disrepair. Ian and Daphne immediately faced big challenges: deferred maintenance, structural decay, outdated utilities, and significant tax debts to the French government. They had no financial safety net. Their savings, their intuition, and a willingness to learn were all on the line. A quick pause. If you want to stay updated on all things HGTV, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video if you're enjoying it so far, and drop a comment to share your thoughts. All right, let's jump back in. The show Castle Impossible premiered April 29th, 2025. It documents Ian and Daphne as they abandon their previously planned life in California, a smaller home, more stable routine, to live full-time in France and restore the chateau. Ian moved to France in August 2021. They settled into the property's Hunter's Lodge while undertaking daily restoration work. Ian's responsibilities are many. He co-hosts the show with Daphne. But beyond TV, he is deeply involved in the physical, logistical, and emotional toil of restoring a centuries-old building with all its unique flaws. Problems range from rotting roof beams, missing insulation, or modern heating or electricity, to insect infestations. On one recent episode, the couple uncovered hidden artwork behind a plaster wall, 400 years old, a reminder of how much history the chateau holds, but also how fragile it is. One thing Ian has spoken about is how much the scale of the chateau dwarfs what many renovators are used to. Rooms the size of small houses, 4-story structures, tall ceilings, multiple outbuildings. It's not just renovating, it's mastering architecture, structural engineering, historic preservation, and sometimes even dealing with French bureaucracy. Ian and Daphne also work together to make the chateau financially sustainable. Since inheriting it, Daphne has pushed the wedding business, nearly tripling the number of weddings per year. They host productions for film or photography. They are trying to make revenue even as they restore, because the cost is constant, paying for materials, craftsmen, property taxes, and daily upkeep. Beyond the physical work, Ian and Daphne talk openly about the emotional side. Renovations on this scale are stressful. Ian has said that going through this with a TV crew adds visibility. Sometimes what might have been private becomes visible, magnifying pressure. They've developed routines. Communication is constant. They try to keep perspective. For them, remembering they're on the same team matters. He's joked in interviews that if the biggest problem of the day is digging into negotiations about furnishings or finishing details, that's a good day. Their relationship story is also part of the draw. Daphne and Ian are high school sweethearts. They dated, separated, reconnected, moved in together, then got engaged in 2020, married at the end of that year. They left much behind, the planned life in California, to embrace this huge restoration and life in France. There are no children as of mid-2025. Ian has spoken about what life is like on a daily basis at the chateau. Morning starts early. Many tasks are manual. He'll help move materials, inspect structural issues, coordinate with artisans, manage logistical challenges. They live on site in Hunter's Lodge. When filming, there's little downtime. But they also try to carve out space to decompress, walks near the lake, visiting local markets, short trips into Paris about 30 minutes away, or occasionally going back to California. One of the dramatic moments was when they discovered behind a plaster wall an original painting or artwork from centuries ago. That moment reminds Ian and Daphne, and viewers, that this chateau isn't just walls and wood, it's history. Every crack or hidden room can reveal a story. For Ian, that balance between preservation and modern comfort is central. Another tension is finances. They inherited the chateau, but also inherited debt. Restoring without a huge reservoir of backup funds is risky. Ian and Daphne have spoken about that risk. If they fail, they might lose not just comfort, possibly the chateau itself. They are aware of the stakes. Another interesting angle is how Ian compares their current work with his past. Before all this, rough work on smaller homes or renovations might have seemed big, but nothing prepared him for centuries-old stone, no insulation, floors that collapse, and roofs that leak. The difference is huge. His Air Force experience gave him discipline, but many of the technical skills are being learned on the job through trial, error, and collaboration with local craftsmen who understand historic French construction. The public's reaction to Ian is mostly positive. Fans point to his honesty, willingness to grapple with setbacks, and his chemistry with Daphne. Many viewers say they're inspired by the ambition and vulnerability of their project. People were especially excited when they discovered the castle artwork hidden in the walls. That kind of once-in-a-lifetime find is exactly why audiences tune in. Right now, it's not officially confirmed whether Castle Impossible will have a second season, but there is heavy interest from fans, and HGTV has shared teasers of ongoing renovations. The first season ended in mid-June 2025, having premiered in late April. Ian and Daphne continue to share updates through social media and occasional interviews, keeping fans closely connected to the restoration. Ian Figueira's story is compelling because it combines personal sacrifice, love, and respect for heritage. It's a reminder that some television is more than entertainment. It can preserve history, manage risk, and inspire resilience. Each room he restores, each beam he replaces, and each financial decision he makes is part of a much larger journey. He represents persistence in the face of daunting odds, and his work with Daphne shows how vision, teamwork, and determination can breathe life back into a forgotten piece of history.